Hi, my name is Daniel Foley-Carter. I'm very quickly going to show you how you can look at your potential exposure to LLMs. So one of the things that we can do is we can take our site and we can look at how many queries our site is served for in search. And then we can understand maybe what those queries consist of. So for example, we know that people using tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity and whatnot, they're more likely to have a multi-word search. So, people don't typically just go to an AI search and put in SEO. People tend to ask questions. So one of the things that we can do is we can actually look at our entire domain's volume of queries. So this is how many queries the domain has been served for in Google. And then what we can do is we can take 2 and 3 word search combinations to basically look at how much is our site served for these queries. Because as we know, if you're using an AI tool to do a search, they use retrieval augmented generation. So we know that ChatGPT does use Google and Bing. And basically they will perform the search, they'll do the query fan out so that they can look for common results, and then they're more likely to bring those back and cite them. So we can look at our exposure to these using the power of query counting and advanced filtering. And this is how we can do it. So inside SEO Stack, what you're going to do is you're going to navigate to the URL query count tool. And then what you're going to do is usually it will default to a URL. So all you need to do is just select page, must containing, and then you can just put a full stop. And what that does is it basically will just get every single page on the domain. What we can then do is we can go to ChatGPT, for example, and here I've asked it for a list of 2-word combinations and then 3-word combinations. So 2-word combinations basically and 3-word combinations. 3-word combinations, as you obviously specify more and more words, you start to drill down more on the intent. So I like to start with 2-word combinations. So I've asked it for an exhaustive list of 2-word search question combinations. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this list. I think I've actually got 2 and 3 words. We'll do both. And we're just going to copy that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come over to here. We're going to click on add filter. We're going to click on query. And we're going to have should containing. We're going to click on bulk. I'm going to turn case sensitivity off. And then we're just going to paste in here. And we've got an entire list here. And then we're just going to click apply. And what this is going to do is now draw the volume of queries on our domain that matches one or more of the terms that we have specified. So what we can now do is we can see how many of the questions our domain is served for. So, we're averaging sort of 200 to 300 served questions a day. And the reason that this is important is because we can understand what weighting our domain has in terms of, being served for questions, answers. And if obviously you're looking to increase your LLM exposure, you're going to want to appear for more questions and answers. Now, the next thing that we can do is now we've got this, we can simply click on positions 1 to 3. And we can look at proportionately how many of our overall serve positions have positions 1 to 3. So the idea here is that, if we want a higher chance of being served in an LLM, then, we want to own our topic, the industry that we're in, whether it's product-based, whether it's service-based. And then we're going to want to make sure that as many of our questions are ranking top, because obviously the more prominent our site is for answering questions, the more likely it is to appear when LLMs are performing their searches and their query fan out. And this way we can look. And then what we can actually do now, I've obviously I've combined both 2 and 3 word filters, but we can do 2 different things. So one of the things that we could do is we can just save these. So I'm just going to create a folder for let's say LLM questions. And then this is the point where I would have like a 2-word group, a 3-word group. I'm just going to put all questions, even though this isn't an exhaustive list. I would build on that. And then we're just going to save. Okay. Now, what we're then going to want to do, if we are, we're doing our traditional SEO for LLMs. Now, just bear in mind that there's a lot of hype around AI SEO, geo, and even John Mueller has said, just do traditional SEO. Okay. And the principle does stand. If we do traditional SEO, we're writing good content, we're answering questions, we're meeting end user intent, we're building links, building brand, we're going to appear more and we're more likely to be discovered when LLMs go to retrieve information. So one of the things that I would then be doing is I would be looking at how I could expand on this. So I'd be looking at the kind of questions that are being asked. So if we scroll down, and then I can sort by impression for all the questions. So we can see here in total, there's 4,122 questions that we've been served for over time. And really what I'm interested in is I'm interested in making sure that we own the questions in the impression hierarchy. So obviously the more impressions a question has, the more frequently it's asked. And generally, the more popular something is, if it's being searched in Google, that will also translate into LLMs. The more likely people are to ask those questions on LLMs. So what we would then be looking at doing is really pushing to drive up our average position across as many of the questions as possible. And, in doing this, we're more likely to appear in LLMs and to be cited. So one of the things that I would also do is I would then go to Search Console data. I would then go to my LLM filter. And then I can see the performance over time for our questions. And we can see, obviously, the impact of AIOs, but we can see impressions have grown. And what I would really be looking at is what pages are associated with the most commonly served questions. And then I would do something like link building. So I can see that the Orangery costs page is returned for most of the questions. So one of the things that I would do is I'd be building niche edits directly to the page. And as I do that, I would simply click add annotation. I'd tell SEO Stack, every time I built some links, so I'd build some links to this page. Then what I would do is, so link building to URL, where are you? There we go. And fundamentally, what this is going to mean is that as we strengthen the pages that are most served for our questions, we can then obviously look at that URL. And then we can look at, obviously, I need to predate it. So let's just say I did the work in May. Then what I would be looking at is I'd be looking at the correlation between when I'd started doing something. So if I was link building to the URL, maybe I tweaked and improved the answer to the question, then I would be looking to see an overall growth in time for the associated queries for that page. And doing that and following this process, you are obviously more likely to rank for the questions associated with your content. And obviously, the more prominent you are, the more likely you are to be included in an LLM for a search. Thank you for watching. My name is Daniel Foley Carter.